The Triple H era has now begun, with Vince McMahon facing allegations being forced out of his position as WWE's chairman and chief executive, who always played a major part in their booking and storytelling, will now be forced to move out of the way for Triple H to take the lead in that position. But honestly, who better than Triple H to be that person to take that position? Think about it. Him being a former world champion who would temporarily retire and go on to assist WWE's developmental brand NXT, and would create the era which is called the Black and Gold era, which would span between 2014 to 2020. NXT's developmental brand will become so successful that between the years of 2018 to 2020, they would surpass WWE in booking and storytelling. So far to the point that NXT became the primary show or the premier show to watch over SmackDown and Raw. Even though they wouldn't garner as much ratings as SmackDown and Raw, however, they were the biggest talk at that time because of the stars who were being developed out of NXT and that would go on to the main roster. Because of their magnificent work that was done down at NXT, it would show the true potential of what could become on the main roster. And who was at the helm of that creative point in wrestling? Triple H, alongside Shawn Michaels and William Regal, who would help develop these talents to become future stars. The development for these stars was so magnificently done that they were just roster ready. To the point where when they came up to the main roster, all Vince had to do was just book them in the right feuds and they were off to the moon. However, we've seen how Vince McMahon would handle these NXT stars when they would come up to the main roster, one being Finn Balor, another being Kevin Owens, another being Shinsuke Nakamura, and many others I can name, would not receive the same care and treatment that they received in NXT once they were called up to the main roster. So in between NXT having better booking, better shows, and building better stars versus SmackDown and Raw not really developing their stars and giving them that proper care and booking, it was showing that Triple H had the eye for the future of the business. And the most interesting thing about this whole take on Triple H being the person that's going to be the head of creative is the fact that this guy always had excellent rivalries. His feud with Shawn Michaels, Triple H's involvement in Stone Cold Steve Austin being injured in 1999's Survivor Series, which will be revisited in 2001, where Triple H and Austin will carry on a feud. The construction, the reign, and the destruction of Evolution. His feud with Daniel Bryan as the leader of the Authority. Even his monumental feud with The Rock. And the common factor you'll see with these feuds is that they had amazing stories. And speaking of stories, it puts me in the mind frame of Cody Rhodes, who comes back as this unappreciated talent who leaves WWE to build another promotion to come back as a top star. We think that he's booked to win WrestleMania 39. He loses, but then at WrestleMania 40, he has his grand moment with a rich history that created a great story attached to that moment, which made it even more sweeter. And for me as a WWE fan, there's no mystery that Cody Rhodes is Triple H's guy. To how he was booked when he returned and his feuds up until he won a Universal Championship, to how Triple H was booking matches in NXT with great stories and great feuds, to watching how Cody developed to who he is right now, and Triple H officially the head of creative, and Cody Rhodes being that guy as his champion. It makes so much more sense why Cody is his guy, because you can tell Triple H had a hand in that creative process. If Vince would have got his way, it would have been The Rock and Roman at WrestleMania 40, which shows a stark difference between Vince McMahon and Triple H. See, Triple H learned through his career of being overshadowed and developing NXT to trust his talent, that when it comes down to main events, they can deliver. And Vince McMahon has grown out of that place that Triple H is in, where he had stopped developing new talent and relies more on marquee names and bigger names in order to produce a bigger, better show, but also use those names to give you a better show versus actually relying on the talent. That's not to say that Vince McMahon was not giving us new talent. It's just that Vince McMahon was not putting his great focus on new talent. Let's take Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho. WrestleMania 33. on what could have been a great moment and a monumental moment for Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho to fight over the Universal title. See, back in 2016, Kevin Owens would win a fatal four-way elimination match for the Universal title. There, him and Chris Jericho would pair up as buddies, and they would run together and have a great promo run as Kevin Owens was the Universal Champion. And then, later on that year, Kevin Owens would betray his buddy, Chris Jericho, which would now spiral into somewhat of a feud leading up to WrestleMania. But instead of Vince McMahon booking this match against Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens to fight for the Universal title, Vince McMahon decides to bring back Goldberg, have Goldberg take the title off Kevin Owens, and have Goldberg fight Brock Lesnar for the Universal title at WrestleMania 33, and have Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho fight for the United States title at WrestleMania 33. So Kevin Owens gets pushed as a main event star, only to be brought back down to the mid-card to fight in a mid-card match at the biggest main event of the year. Backwoods booking at its best. Chris Jericho was the hottest star at the time, building a great friendship with Kevin Owens, which spiraled into a feud. It would have been amazing to watch that feud unravel at WrestleMania 33, either giving Chris Jericho his crowning moment, winning a main event at WrestleMania, or putting Kevin Owens over as a main event star. That was one of the biggest booking robberies in WWE history I will never forget. That was one of the moments where we realized as WWE fans, or I should say I realized as a WWE fan, that Vince McMahon was definitely losing his touch and was definitely out of touch with the wrestling world as far as what should be booked. And that was one of the many poor booking decisions Vince McMahon would make, spanning as far back as 2006, where we would see a great dip in the quality of what we were viewing every week on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown. And it's kind of sad to see somebody like Vince McMahon, who gave us high quality events and gave us high quality star power such as Stone Cold Steve Austin, Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, Mr. Perfect, Razor Ramon, to name a few, fall from grace the way that he fell from grace in such disgraceful manner. On the other hand, it's actually really good to see him leave because his time was up. His time was definitely winding down. Vince is too old, and we can see it in his work. So no more goofy angles like having Hornswoggle come from underneath the ring and chase wrestlers, or no more goofy characters like the Boogeyman or Doink the Clown or the Brooklyn Brawler. Job out the far more talented performers, taking up precious screen time that could be used for better matches and to push better storylines. And it's so crazy because it feels like Vince McMahon had this knack for just humiliating talent and other performers. But in the Triple H era, I'm expecting so much more and so much better. In this Triple H era, I'm expecting better booking for the wrestlers in matches, better opportunities for talented wrestlers, more talent acquisition for wrestlers who are free agents outside of WWE, better championship reigns, better storylines, and better promos. And by the looks of things, since Vince McMahon has moved out of the position of being a chairman, we immediately started to see those changes. The Monday Night Raws feel better, the SmackDowns feel better, and they even flow a lot better. And because of Triple H's great work in NXT Black and Gold, that's a great reason why he should be head of creative. It's the way he was developing the talent. He was making them roster ready. And also we could look at how he took over the reins and started giving us a better show and started immediately making better creative decisions. One decision in particular changed the course of WWE history. If it wasn't for Triple H, Gunther would have not had a 666-day Intercontinental title reign. In fact, it was Vince McMahon's idea to have Gunther hold on to the belt for about 3 months and have him lose the belt to Shinsuke Nakamura. But because Triple H decided to keep the belt on Gunther and seen his potential because he's developed that talent down in NXT UK, he had him hold on to the belt a little bit longer. And because of that, we've gotten classic after classic after classic match out of Gunther being the IC champion. Now, why did the Honky Tonk Man hold that title reign for such a long time? It made no sense. I mean, this guy was not the best wrestler in the ring. He was actually not that great. And you had the likes of Kurt Angle, Dolph Ziggler, The Miz, even Randy Orton, who could have broken that reign a long time ago. Instead of having performers flip-flop back and forth with the title, he could have created substantial title reigns with the Intercontinental and a United States title. And there were some that held middleweight titles for a long period of time, such as Randy Orton and MVP, but those guys were few and far in between. But because of Triple H's great booking decision, we not only got a historical Intercontinental title reign, but we got the greatest Intercontinental champion in history. And this is why I think Triple H is the perfect choice to be the head of creative. For decisions like that, he knows how to book great talent and create great matches with the talent, and he trusts his talent to perform at the greatest level of their athletic ability in the ring. And I say that this is the Triple H era because he's the head of booking and creative. And if you're the head of booking and creative, of course, you're going to call the shots as far as how the show is viewed to all the audience. So this is the end of the video. Leave a comment in the comment section below and let me know if you guys are really happy about the Triple H era or if you were a fan of Vince McMahon's creative and booking style. I will see you guys later. Also, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Wrestling Talks and Thoughts. And hit that notification bell so every time we go live, you guys will get a notification. And every time we create a new video, you guys will get a notification so you can view it first. Catch you guys in the next video. Peace.